in history, all 4 belts in the cruiserweight division will belong proudly around the waist of one man.
It looks like Canelo Golovkin is looking in serious jeopardy.
Strange date for the hearing.
10th of April.
Strange date. Why didn't they just deal with it there and then? They got all the information they need, right? So why leave it until 3.5 weeks or whatever it is before a fight that needs to sell pay-per-view and tickets? I mean, how can a venue commit a venue fee to a promotion not knowing whether or not it's going to go ahead? It's a strange one that the Nevada State would set that date for April the 10th.
The venue of offering people apparently refunds now on tickets, so that's not looking great, obviously.
No, why not just? They got the facts. Get into a room, sit there for 2, 3, 4 hours, and make a decision. I don't think they needed to give a 2 or 3 week notice for a hearing when they have all the facts. You make your decision and say what it is. Yeah, because the only people that are going to lose out here are boxing fans. So it makes no sense why they would set the date for April the 10th for the hearing unless they somehow weren't capable of coming to a decision sooner or didn't want to.
What about this second failed test for clenbuterol?
Wasn't it off the same blood sample? It's not like they do a test and then go back when the first one fails and test him again and he fails again. When they do a test, they take blood and they split it into 2 pots. And one's an A sample and one's a B sample, but it's the same, taken at the same time. So they just divide it into 2 pots. So it's the same sample split into 2 pots. So when they say B sample, all they've done is they've just retested the same blood. When they say, oh, he's failed the second sample, makes it sound like they've gone back and tested him again, and that's not how it works. He did 1 test. They could have done a CD. They could have gone up to Z and say, well, he's failed it 26 times now, but it was one blood test.
But from a fan point of view, you said the other day you'd obviously like to see it.
Yeah, I hate myself for that. I really do. Because as a fan, I would. Because I do think he can give.
Yeah. Majority of people would want to see it.
I admire his skills. I really do. I've admired his fighting abilities for a very long time. But I'm disgusted by drugs cheats in all sport, especially combat sport, where one of the intentions is to hurt someone, and it should be a criminal offence. And I say, before I said anabolic, but maybe I should have chosen my words a bit more carefully, because performance enhancing can also, performance enhancing covers a whole bracket, right? You can fail a drug test for smoking weed, but weed ain't going to make you a better fighter. It's not going to make you a more dangerous man. It's going to make you less dangerous, more likely to try and talk it out with the dude and have a cuddle and a packet of Jaffa cakes. So weed's not going to make you a better fighter, but anabolic steroids will. Certain stimulants will, if they make you function for longer. Why isn't it a criminal offence? It should be a criminal offence. If a boxer punches another boxer in the face, it's considerable. That's the nature of the business. But if you pick something up and hits him with it, that's a no-no, right? Pick up a bit of wood, hit him over the head with it. You just assaulted him with a weapon. That's a criminal offence. If you inflict damage on someone when you have performance-enhancing substance in you, what's the difference between that and loading a glove with something? So, if it was a criminal offence, maybe less people would do it. If the testing was better, maybe less people would do it.
But are more people getting, use the word, caught now because the testing's better?
I've just been talking to David Price. He lost to 2 fighters who both failed dope tests. Where's his compensation? Everyone tweet, oh, it's disgusting. Today's generation, everyone's got an opinion for a second before something else happens. Oh, it's disgusting. Ban them. Shouldn't be happening. There's one victim in those two scenarios, and that was David Price. What did he get out of it? Absolutely nothing. Someone goes into a fight, goes into a big fight, gets paid a lot of money, and goes on gear. Wins the fight, hurts the other fella, knocks him out, wins it however he wins it, gets paid his purse. The money's clear in his bank account. He can take the money out and go and buy houses and cars with it before he fails the dope test. Then he fails the dope test. And what happens? There's a hearing and he gets suspended and fined. Where does that fine go? How much does he get fined? And who financially benefits from him cheating? Because I'd like to know how many occasions that financial benefit actually goes to the victim of that actual crime.
Well, it doesn't, does it?
No.
It goes back into whoever the
Governing body.
governing body is, yeah.
Yeah. Why? Why doesn't it go to the victim? Not even a percentage of it.
Yeah, well, if you foul weight and you lose a bit of your purse, that normally goes to the other opponent, correct?
Not all of it.
No, but there is a percentage that goes to
Yes.
the
But
opponent.
not all of it.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no, I know.
There are people that financially benefit from people failing to make weight and from people cheating. But when someone gets hurt by a drugs cheat in a fight, once the money's cleared in his account, why doesn't that money go? Why doesn't, whatever he's penalised and has to pay, why doesn't it go to him? Why can't that fighter take legal action against the fella that did it to get compensated for the damage that was inflicted, not just on him physically, but on him as a business? Because we know and accept that losing a fight, nearly every sense, in every time it happens, means that next time you fight, you don't earn as much. So we can piss and moan about drugs cheats and start, because it's easy. It's easy to say it's disgusting. They failed. He should be banned. He should be banned. Okay, let's look a little bit deeper. Let's look at the testing protocol. Let's look at the testing protocol throughout the careers. How many people get tested? When they get tested? What they get tested for? How obvious is it for fighters to find out what's banned and what's not? Do you know where to find a definitive list of every single banned substance?
I'm sure it's on the UKAD website.
Have you ever seen it?
I've been on the UKAD website, but I wouldn't know.
Ask every fighter and every trainer and every manager and every promoter, do you have printed off, laminated, a definitive list of every banned chemical? Because we're in the business, right? So it's easy to start tweeting and passing opinions. Ain't gonna change. We don't live in a fair world, do we? So we can only do certain things. What can we do? Is dope testing a business, a big business? Because if it's not a big business, it's not going to grow as quickly as the business of sport that financially benefits from it. So you can't, the testing can't keep up with the business, okay? It's just the way of the world. What about when we do catch someone for cheating? And let's talk about boxing, because that's the business we're in. We do catch someone for cheating in boxing, who wins a fight and harms another fighter physically, as well as his business career because he loses. Should that decision get reversed? Where he won by KO in the second round, should he lose by disqualification? Which means the win gets reallocated to the victim. No, that doesn't happen, does it?
Not
Why
always.
not? Where I'm unaware of one situation where
Right,
that's
if I'm
happened
wrong, is
retrospectively.
David Price's fight with Tepper now a no contest?
Let me see. But why should it be a no contest? He should have won by disqualification. Let me have a look. You keep talking. And we go and ask David Price
I may be wrong.
how
but
many euros they paid him for Erkan Tepper failing the test. Where is he? No, lost KO.
So it wasn't overturned.
Now that's something. Those two things. Reverse the decision so that his record shows a win by disqualification. Because if Erkan Tepper in the second round, had run up to him and kicked him in the bollocks, David Price would have won by disqualification. He wasn't clean when he was in the fight. So it's a foul, it's a breach of the rules, it's a breach of all these different elements that are allocated to dope testing and the offences. However you want to word it, he cheated. So he should have lost by disqualification, and Price should have won by disqualification. He should have been penalised financially, and Price should have been compensated financially. That's just one scenario. What good reason can there be to argue against those 2 points? Because if there isn't a good reason, why aren't those 2 elements implemented immediately? For the benefit of the fighter, to the detriment of to the benefit of the victimised fighter, to the detriment of the benefited cheat.
Hasn't one of Fury's opponents, Fury's had one of his wins taken off, hasn't he?
Tyson Fury?
Yeah.
Tyson Fury's had one of his wins taken off. How?
Is it?
Why?
Just check Fury.
Yeah.
Because when all this stuff with UK had come out, the statement they put out that he was taking a backdated ban, etc.
Yeah.
I think...
Wasn't that before the Klitschko fight?
Yeah.
Right. Tyson Fury.
Has he got...
Isn't the whole thing about Tyson Fury that he's 25-0?
Is there anything on that?
25-0.
Right. But is one of the wins void? That's what I'm asking.
Which win?
Just look at his if it says on there.
Vladimir Klitschko was his last win. Christian Hammer, Derek Chisora, Joey Abel,
Okay.
Steve Cunningham, Kevin
Someone out
Johnson.
there will know this, but
the example I was giving was David Price. As far as I'm aware, Tyson Fury didn't fail a dope test in relation to the Klitschko fight.
no, it was before that. Carry on. We don't know the details.
We don't know the details. But if somebody definitively fails a dope test, why? All right, let's put this out there, because how long have we been going for now?
Half an hour.
And it's been 28 or 27 minutes of bullshit up until the point where we're now actually discussing something that means something. So forget everything that went before. Just show the start of the interview and our general little bullshit chit chat, and cut straight to this bit where we start talking about this, right? Because why don't we now insist that in a fight, and after the fight someone fails a dope test, if they won that fight unclean, that decision gets reversed, which means the victim wins, the cheat loses. The cheat then has to financially pay a penalty, which I'm pretty sure gets administered across the board already, but that the vast majority of that financial penalty gets passed on to the victim.
It's a point. It's definitely a point. Why that doesn't happen, I don't know. Whether that will start happening, I don't know.
I don't know what I would do I don't know how I would react if a fighter of mine got knocked out by someone who was subsequently proven to fail a dope test. I don't know. I haven't had that. But I have a sense of righteousness. And I'm slightly obsessive. I would chase it. But it shouldn't be that case, because we should have automatic protocol. Can't you start that? Everyone you speak to, if this is important, we ain't going to change it. People are going to cheat. Life's not fair. People have always cheated. It's just now people talk about it more because we've got social media.
Okay.
You're going to sit there now just looking at me facing the camera. I'm just going to keep repeating the same thing, but it's only 2 points, isn't it? Reverse the decision, pay the victim.
Yeah, but it's good. Because people they do talk about it when asked, but we were talking about it the other day with. So, we were talking about it the other day with Eddie and that kind of grey area where you highlighted that the two fighters that were fighting on the card from last week had failed drug tests, Dylan White and Lucas Brown. And a perception from the outside is, when it comes to especially like promoters, it's like a case of, well, if you believe their story, then that's okay. Does that make any sense? Like you're justifying working with them, whoever, because you believe their story. Now there is fighters out there that you probably believe that were not guilty of any wrongdoing. They were genuinely unlucky or stupid or
hang on a second.
Bit naive.
Wrongdoing or deliberate wrongdoing? Because wrongdoing, you can make a mistake and do wrong, right?
All right, yeah, deliberate wrongdoing.
So there needs to be, add a third thing here. There needs to be a definitive list issued to every. We're just talking about boxing, right? Because this goes to every sport. We're talking about boxing. A definitive list of every banned chemical and substance on VADA's list or WADA's list.
Sure.
Every manager gets it. Every license holder gets it.
Yeah.
Send it out by email, print it and laminate it. Now you've got it. Whatever you put in yourself, it's your responsibility to make sure it doesn't have any of these elements in it. Because in Formula One, which is a sophisticated sport business now, look at the nth degrees they go to make sure that the wing isn't a millimetre too wide. That the fuel that they put in is a certain fuel. The tyre compounds they use are certain compounds. They test them. And if they breach it by a millimetre, they're disqualified. Why don't we apply in a day of science and information and fact? Why don't we have that? Give us a definitive list so we know the rules. Then it's our responsibility. I'll eat a chicken breast. I'll eat a baked potato. I won't go and drink a half a litre of Jack 3D. Oh, I didn't know it was a stimulant. Or alpha male juice. Oh, I just thought it was fruit
or import
juice.
meat from Mexico.
Let's not go there.
But
hang on a second. How are we going to clear it up? Be responsible. Everyone's got to be responsible. The fighters, the governing bodies, and the people who control the testing.
Should every case be judged on its own merit, or should there be some kind of rule across the whole thing?
No, every case should be judged on its own merit. Did you have the list of banned substances? Yes. Did you take a banned substance? Yes. Guilty. Did you win the fight? Yes. You now lost, he won. Did you get paid? Yes. Give him that much.
When I ask about, Dylan White, he got a 2-year ban for a substance that was in Jack 3D.
Was that the name of the drink?
Yeah.
I only said that because I'd heard
No,
it.
it was
Right,
Jack
okay.
3D, yeah,
Right.
it was. That was what Dylan White took. And from my understanding,
I wasn't trying to dig you out there, Dillian, but
No.
I know I'd heard that drink before.
from my understanding, there was a substance that was put into Jack 3D that had only been on the ban list for like 2 months.
Right.
So
Exactly.
So
And if
6
they
months ago, if he was taking Jack 3D, it may have not have happened.
Yes.
But something got added to.
After he had it.
Yeah, it was like the space of 2 months. I'm pretty sure, from what I remember, that was
if
right.
if it wasn't on the ban list when he took it, he's not guilty. There are laws.
No, I'm saying
like,
it obviously was on the ban list by the time it was in whatever was in his system.
You know, who's the tennis player that took the, what's it called, the chemical Maldonian or something like that? That he's just gone on the ban list that January. When VADA start adding chemicals to their ban list,
Yeah.
VADA should be responsible for making sure that every governing body of every sport has the definitive ban list updated.
Yes.
Those governing bodies then need to make sure that every participant who fall under their regulation has that updated ban list, whether it's managers, trainers, boxers, cyclists, whatever it is.
Agreed.
But if you don't know, something, if you don't know something is a crime and you do it, are you guilty of a crime? Because that goes into law as well. How many laws don't we know about?
No.
You go and break the law. I didn't know that was law. Well, it is, so you're guilty. Tough luck.
Yeah, but it's finding that line of. It's again, it comes to the fingers. Who you can't do a thing where you think
The people that make the rules.
who do you believe and who you don't.
Now, hang on a second. The people that make the rules, if you're in a position of power where you make rules, VADA or whoever it is that nominates which chemical should be on the banned list because it's performance enhancing. Someone makes that decision for an organisation. That organisation then should have a responsibility to make sure every governing body of every sport knows that that chemical is now on the list.
True.
Once they've let those governing bodies know, they've fulfilled their responsibilities. Those governing bodies then have to be responsible for letting every participant who is a member of their association know, whether it's directly or through managers or whatever, here's your definitive ban list and that chemical is now on it. It's now your responsibility to make sure you don't have that chemical.
Correct. And that should be for every single
But that
substance.
doesn't happen. Not only does that not happen, when someone does fail an A, B, C and Z sample because they take one bit of blood and they test it twice and they're guilty of having that substance that they didn't know about or they did know about and they won, you now lose and you pay a fine. Thank you very much. We'll keep that. What about the fella that just got knocked unconscious? We'll keep it. Change those things. Aren't they the logical things first? Because if you're not going to change the logical things and take responsibility, VADA take responsibility for the flow of information, the governing bodies take responsibility for the flow of information so that you can then hold the participants personally accountable because the information was definitely given to you. You didn't give them the information, but you still want to haul them over the coals anyway. Maybe Alvarez did have a dodgy kebab. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he didn't. But the problem is bigger. Oh, shut up now. I've got
What's
a
the
press
time?
conference to go to.
What is the time?
I'm getting picked up in 10 minutes.
Can I come with you?
Yeah.
All right, Adam, listen, thank you very much for your time today. I feel like you've wanted to say this for a long time. And now you have.
No, I was actually thinking through it while I obviously feel it, and I have a visceral response to this subject, but I was thinking through it while I was talking to you. Now I've thought through it while talking to you, is that not? I'm trying to think of questions why that wouldn't be a logical scenario. So to recap, VADA, whoever makes a decision as to what's on the banned list, let every governing body have that banned list. Once the British Boxing Board of Control have got that banned list, issue it to all managers, promoters and boxers who are licensed by you. We pay our license fees. Give us that definitive list that you have got from VADA. Once we have that definitive list, it then becomes our responsibility to make sure that our fighters and our fighters' responsibility to make sure they don't take anything that's on the list that you've given us that was given to you by them. And if we do have a fight with someone who cheats, reverse the decision and compensate us.
Adam Booth,
Peace out.
thank you very much.
First time in history, all 4 belts in the cruiserweight division will belong proudly around the waist of one man.